Hello everyone. So in the last video we ended up with this login form, and if this is the first video for you to see, I recommend that you go back and watch the previous video so that you know how we ended up here. So in this video we will start by creating a database, and that database will be having a single table. And then after, we will proceed on with creating, with hooking up everything so that we can log in using the real data. And thereafter, we will see how we can create a registration form. And I think we will proceed on with hooking up the registration process with the programming end. I think that will be in another video, but if everything goes okay, yeah, we will see what we can do. So I have something to speak before we start programming. So a couple of my friends have advised me upon some things. One has requested, by the way, that I make a video about Laravel, and he specifically said a voting system, so that we could make a tutorial about voting system. Yeah. And another person also said that requested a video, a tutorial about Flutter. He wants to know how to create a mobile application with the Google's mobile SDK, which goes by the name Flutter. So I am currently designing and looking how I can do these videos in a way that they will be good for you guys to listen and understand. So at this moment, I am welcoming comments and advice from you guys, because you are the one who are going to listen. So if you have a comment, if you have an idea of a system or project that you think, if I would make a video for it, it would assist you or help you more in understanding, then you're welcome. Enough about the theories. Let's get into practical now. So in your PHP-MyAdmin, I'm using XAMPP, by the way. So you can, if you're using WAMP, the process should be very same. We are going to create a new database now. I will just name the database system. And then in this database, we will create a table, and the table will go by the name users. And I think it will be having 5 fields. So the first field should be an ID, and obviously it will be a primary key. Okay, we have its auto increment, and then another one here will be so the username. So first underscore name. Let's do password, and then first underscore name, and then last underscore name. And then so the username is varchar. The username, let's just give it 255 characters. The password, let's make it also a varchar, but it goes to 255. Then the first name, the first name varchar, let's give it 100, and varchar 100. Nice. So that is our table. And one thing, I think I've forgotten something here. The username. The username, if you go to structure, the username has to be unique in order to avoid duplicates. So let us add a unique index. Let us add a unique index there, so that the username can become unique in order to avoid duplicates of username, because we will depend on username to log in a person. So we expect each username that goes into the database is unique. Yeah, so that's it. That, I think we have covered the users table now. Let's go back to the system now. It is our job to make sure that a person that is inside our database, who puts in here the username, the correct username and password, and clicks login, he or she has to be redirected to another page. Yeah, the dashboard page, by the way. So let us, for starter, insert temporary users. So let's do admin. The password, let us encrypt the password with SHA1. Where are you? SHA1, right here. And the password. So first name should be Williams. Last name George. Go. So we have one row inserted into our database and we into our table, and if we look, we will see the username, the password has been encrypted, and the first name is William, the last name is George. Perfect. So let's go back now and start hooking up the UI, this UI, because right now, yeah, you can see it's just plain HTML. So I would like to start by renaming the folder for the project to system. Okay, so let's do this. File, open folder, this PC, disk C, XAMPP, HTML docs, and system. Select folder. Yeah. So there we go. System. In our login now, I think we should start by saying where exactly this form is going to be processed, and we should also specify the method, because a form requires a place, the action, a place where it is going to be processed, but also it requires the method. So the method here, we are going to use post. I will see if I can explain the difference between post and get in another video. In this video right now, just bear with me for a while. So action, I'm going to just leave it blank, and because if I leave it blank, it will mean that the form will be processed in this very file, in this very login.php file. So in the code for processing the PHP, the form submission will go here. So in here, in this place, at the very top place of the page, this is where I will go. I will start by I will process my form submission. Yeah. So, and in order to submit our form, I think we need to change this to input type submit, and input type submit, and this one here, let's remove it. The login, it has to go by value. Yeah, that's it. I don't think if we need this class here. Let us see what happens if we remove it. Yeah, so we changed it to system. Perfect, everything is going well. So in order for us to submit these input fields, is username and password, we need to give them names. So you need to make sure you give names to your fields. So this is username, and here it's password. So the name of this field is password, so that we can access the values by calling their names. Okay, perfect. So when we hit submit, we expect, when we click this button called submit, we expect to submit this form in this very file. So let us test now if we are submitting our files by actually accessing the submitted values through their proper ways of accessing them. So let's say username. Let's create a new variable called username. That is how you create a variable in PHP. You just name it underscore post, because we used a method called post. That's why we are doing $_ post, and this is username. Okay, sorry. And then we go for password. So for now, let us just echo them out. Let us just echo username and password, just to make sure that everything is okay. Refresh. So the index is undefined, and that is very okay. So let's say we have a username admin and password and login. So we have admin, password. This means we are successfully submitting our form. That's why we have been able to echo the username and password. So one thing though, here you have seen that the password input type is text. That's why you saw a plain text like this. We don't need this kind of behavior. If we refresh like now, if you refresh, if you type, yeah, that's kind of a behavior you would require for password, because you don't want to type your password and people from behind you looking at the very password you're typing. Perfect. So if that is the case then, and everything is being submitted, so right now we need to check in the database if this user with this username and password, if this user exists. If the user with the username and password that has been provided exists in the database, this means this person is authenticated to proceed to the dashboard page. So we are going to use Mysql. So right now I'll just create the database connection right here in front of you guys, and you have to bear with me for a while. So for connection into the database in MySQL, we need db_name, and the database name is system, and we need the db user, the db password. We need the password. So the password by default in MySQL is an empty string. We need the db user, and by default the user is root, and we need the database host, actually the server that the database is running, localhost should do. So that's it. In order to establish our connection, we need to say MySQL_connect, and the connection now, the first parameter is the host, the db host. The second parameter is the db user. The third parameter is the db password, $sign db password. db I mean database password, and $sign db name. Yeah, so by doing this, you are connecting to the database, but you need to save your connection. You need to save your connection to a variable. So I'm just saying this variable can be any kind of variable. It doesn't have to be the name connection. I'm just saying this connection because, yeah, you know it's connection. Yeah, perfect. So if you want to check if the connection exists, you can just say if $. If the connection was successful, you can just say if $connection. Then you can say echo connected. And else. So else if else just say echo not connected. Yeah, so let us test now. We are connected, right? And yeah, we are connected. This, just ignore them for the moment, because actually, yeah, we can do something about this. What we can do here is that we can wrap this inside an if block. If, and we will if $_post login. If $_post login, then do the following things. So we will be making sure that we will only look for the $post username and password when the login has been set. So if $post login is like if the login button has been clicked, and we need to give that button this name in order to check it in that manner. So here we have our input, we have the value, we need to give it a name. So name equals login. So the name equals login. This means once this button has been set, once it has been clicked, then execute everything that is inside this block. So right now, if we refresh, nothing is there. Undefined index login in C. Yeah. So right now, if you leave this without so right now, because the $post login, post login by default it is not set, and we are when we are loading the page, we are testing to check if it exists, if it has been set, and it has not, because it doesn't exist. So you can see PHP is complaining here right now. If you do this, PHP will just complain undefined index login. But in order to bypass that kind of error, because we know that it's just because it's not set, and you know it will be set later, we just add the @ symbol before the $_post, and that actually it works with all the variables. If a variable has not yet been set and you want to just test it whenever it will become set, to test if it exists, then you can use the @ symbol. Perfect. So that's it. We will now be testing once we have clicked the login button. Yeah, so right now what we are going to do is we're going to prepare a query now to the database. Now we do SQL. Now this is the SQL query. Equals to, we want to select everything from users, where username equals $username and password equals $password. So make sure if you started with double quotes, you start with double quotes, then inside your inside the double quotes you just use single quotes in order to make sure that the string is interpreted in a correct way by PHP. So that this is our query. So we don't need this anymore because we know that we are connected. And so right now we can execute the query now. So let us save the results of the query inside the variable results, and execute my SQL query, the $connection, and execute SQL. So basically here we are executing the MySQL query, which is this query on this connection, and this is very usable if you have different kinds of connection, different kinds of databases, and you want to create queries, perform different queries to different tables in different databases and stuff like that. So that's it. Here now we have created we have executed our query, but we need to see now if the query has been created or not, if the user exists. So if the user exists, it means that inside this results there will be a row containing the particulars of the user that has got the username and password which matches the record in the database. So if this query returns 0, this means that a user with the username and password inserted by the user does not exist. If it returns a single column, it means that that person exists. Now, how can we speak that in PHP. Here's how we can speak it. So we need to say if MySQL underscore num underscore row. So this is MySQLi. If MySQL underscore num row of the $ result is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, this means there is a person inside the database which matches this criteria, the username and password criteria. So if the MySQLi num rows results is greater than 0, this means there is that person. So then we can say while $row equals MySQLi underscore fetch underscore array $results. So here basically we are looping the results returned by the data by this query. We are fetching them and returning them as an array, and in that array that has been returned, we are assigning it to this variable so that we can access those values using the array syntax. So here's how. So we can do $echo, let's say row, and say username. So if we do this, it means that we are fetching that result, the result that we have, and in this way, in this query, we will only have one row. So we are looping to get that one row. After we get that row, so the row here, it has got it's like an associative array. It's associative array actually, which it has got the column name. The column name, by saying the column name, I mean these columns. You see this column is called username, this one is password, this one is first name, this one is last name. So these values will be pointed by these keys. That's why you can see here I am saying username. So for the row that has been returned here in this MySQLi fetch array, that row, it has been assigned to this variable here. In this variable now, we can access the content of this row, which matches the username and password criteria, because it's this row that will match the admin and password, the username admin and the password. So by doing so, it means that we can now echo the username, which is admin here. So let's see how it works. So I say admin, and password I do password and bub. So we have undefined variable result in here on line 14. So let us see MySQLi num row expects parameter to be MySQLi result. So undefined variable result. Let's deal with this error first. And on line 14, undefined variable result, it's results. So if we do admin, password, and login, and then I think everything is okay. But okay, so here's the thing. We are saving the password as an encrypted password, but right now here we are trying to look at the password, compare it with the unencrypted. So that's the problem. Here now we can do SHA-1, and then what we need, you just have to encrypt the database and compare it with the encrypted string in the database. So right now, if we do that and check admin, password, so yeah, we can see admin. It means that the username now, the credentials that has been set, they are okay. Wrong password, if we do blah 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 and blah 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 and we hit login, yeah, so we don't have any output there because there is no person with that kind of username and password. So that's it. In order to proceed here, what we can do, we can use, what we can do now here, we want to, if the user exists here, we need to just fetch that user and header to a location. That location is called dashboard.php. Okay, so let us create that location real quick. Dashboard.php. Save dashboard.php. Okay, so that's it. So for now, let's just use h1 dashboard area. Perfect. So right now we want to do that. So let's see what happens if we do admin, we do password, and we go dashboard area. This is because we found someone. What if we don't find someone? Let us create some sort of conditioning here. So we do else. So else. Now we can just create a variable called error and give it something. So what we can do here, we can do username and password doesn't match. Username and password doesn't match, and this error we can display it somewhere in here. So let's do p.help .is danger. This is our Bulma class, and we do tab, and we just do PHP, and we echo $error. Let's do that. But in order to avoid those kind of errors, the errors we received before, let us create it here. $error equals an empty string. So by default, we don't have any error, but if we do, just set it and output it there. Perfect. So let's go back a little quick, refresh the page to make sure that we have not an undefined variable error. Error. Yeah. So here, if we do blah 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 and blah 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 and login, username and password doesn't match. But if we do admin and password, then we go successfully to the dashboard area. So here's the thing: what if when we reach at the dashboard.php, what can we do to make sure that we maintain the session of the user that has logged in? So here's what you can do. What you can do is that you can use sessions, and in order to use session, you need to start the sessions before you use them. So session start, and after doing session start, you can just come here and say $session, and you give it a key. Let's give it a key called username, and say equals $row username, and then we can now go to this session area. So in here, in order to have access to the session variable, we also have to open PHP, of course, and then we do session start. After session start, now we can access maybe here. Maybe you can do p, and you can say welcome, and say PHP echo $. Let's do this. Let's say username is equal to $_session. So we are getting the username from the session variable. So the session is a global variable that is available once you set it, it becomes a variable available in all of your requests until you unset it again. So let's pick get the variable from the sessions and put it in our local variable here, so that we can echo it in a way that we can easily understand. Nice. So what we can do here, if we refresh, obviously we set the session, we can get it. So welcome admin. So that's how you can navigate from one page to another page using sessions, maintaining some key data that can help you to identify the user that has logged in, but also you can set a session which is which contains an ID of particular data in your database, so that once you reach in another page, you can use that ID to query all the other fields or data associated with that row. And lastly, I think I think here it's enough for this video. I'm going to pause for this video, and in the next video we'll see how we can style the dashboard, and then we'll see how we can allow a person to register using our registration form. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.